Hi, welcome to another episode of Walking in It. My name is Shemeka Cherry Jackson. I'm your host. Walking in It, the premise of this podcast channel is that um, I'm not trying to teach you how to be a better caregiver. I am talking about real life experiences or ways that I am walking through my role as a caregiver, as a perpetual parent. I gave the definition of that in a previous video. The distinction between caregivers, same but different roles. I have a 17-year-old daughter with Down syndrome. So I have been caring for her since birth. I will never step out of this role. And so as I age, she's also growing up with me as well, but also still needing assistance with some, very basic things, which is, um, a lot of parents raising individuals, with special health needs can definitely identify with and relate to. And so the difference between caregiving is like, caregivers, they step into a role. Maybe they're caring for a spouse or a parent or someone that has developed a chronic illness, Alzheimer's, or they've had a stroke, and you're stepping into a role of providing assistance with activities of daily living. Whereas a perpetual parent, you've never stepped out of it. So you have been continually in this role of providing parenting supports, to where, let's say, if it's assisting with toileting, ambulating, things like that. So that's the difference, but I'm still speaking to the same group. All right. So, in a previous episode, I talked about how there was a season in my life where I was experiencing just like chronic fatigue and just feeling overwhelmed. I had so much on my plate trying to manage a household and work a job and take care of my kids and all these things. And I remember just being just exhausted. And so at that time, I was just praying about it, like, God, I need a plan. I need a plan, like what to do. And I really thought that He would give me like this big, like, I don't know, big moment, 10 Commandments moment. This is a step-by-step plan on how to manage your life. And it really wasn't that at all. It was really simple. Like rest. You need to rest. And so I started and went into this deep dive of trying to understanding more of Sabbath rest and what that meant for me and how I needed to implement this in my life. So I talked about that in a previous video, but today I also wanted to come back and just look at rest, and I'm naming this video Resting and Reframing. um because yes, there is the repose part of resting where you're sitting, and relaxing and doing nothing, or just regaining your strength, which that's how I am an introvert. So I like the quiet. I like the alone time. That is how I replenish myself. So, but in this video, is resting and reframing, and so what made me think about this was I actually was reading, in Genesis 1, and I never looked at this passage in this way. And so when I was reading Genesis 1 and I saw where God had already created infrastructure before He created people. So there was light, vegetation, there was timekeeping, there was day and night. There were systems in place before He even put Adam and Eve in the garden. So I started to think about that in my own life, you know? So just real quick, so infrastructure is the basic foundation of framework that supports systems. So we often think of infrastructure when we think of like bridges, buildings, um, systems, school systems or highways or houses. But I want you to think about infrastructure even in your own personal life, and what could that look like for you. And so when I started to reframe and look at it from that way, like, wow, where have I put in infrastructure, and where do I need to put in infrastructure, you know? And so for me, or when you think about it, you might not even looked at it along these lines, but just consider this: a routine is infrastructure, a support network is infrastructure, having an estate plan is infrastructure, a family calendar is infrastructure, having a respite plan, those things are infrastructure. Okay. I also saw where he had implemented automation when I read Genesis 1. So, automation is creating a process that continues to work with little ongoing effort. So, it means that it reduces the number of times that you have to make a decision repeatedly. So, think about that if you have set up like automatic bill pay, if you have a reoccurring cleaning schedule, if you do meal planning, or if you have a school routine, calendar reminders, all those things are automation. So you don't have to, if you plan your meals on Sunday, and I don't know, I'm just, if that's what you don't have to think about, okay, what am I going to do, eat Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because you've already set the automation in place. So you're not having to go back and make that decision each and every day. So having automation, it reduces decision fatigue and frees up mental and emotional energy. I hadn't thought about it this way, but I do automatic bill pay. So I'm not making a decision of, okay, I need to set this aside to pay this bill. It's already there. I don't have to think about it. That's one less thing that I have on my plate, and that I'm not worried about. So I saw that when I was reading Genesis 1, like God had already set up infrastructure and he set up automation. So I started to think about the mindset of, okay, as a caregiver, as a perpetual parent, how could this benefit my life? As we are caregivers, parents, professionals, where can we benefit from infrastructure? Where can we benefit from having automation? So, because the resources were already there before the needs came into existence. So before Adam and Eve got there was light and darkness, day and night, seasons and timekeeping. So that system, that structure, that plan was already in place. Then he brought them into the picture. So he was creating capacity for them. For them to for him for for them to continue to maintain and support what he'd already. They just had to build on the foundation that he'd already created. Does that make sense? Okay. So in my own life, I had to think, what infrastructure am I building? And maybe I would love to hear from you, like what you're doing, because I definitely don't have it all figured out, but I just wanted to share what I'm doing in this season of my life. And if you find it beneficial, implement it, tweak it, whatever. But I would love to hear your feedback as well. This is a dialogue. I do not have it all together, but please share with me in the comments. So for me, I value um, especially my bedroom. I want to come home and have a clean room. I want my bed made. I want to come home and not even have to think about it. I like that space. That is my sanctuary. That is where I rest. I want it to always look nice. Other areas of my house, I want it to always look nice and be in order and things like that. And so what I come to like, I'm not always the one that has to do it. But what has helped me was to get a cleaning schedule, find someone that can come in and tidy up my spaces so that I don't have to do that. But I know that that is something that I value, and I know that that's a system. So it's also automated, so that okay, this is what's happening on the calendar, and I'm not thinking about it, but it's one less stress or something that I have to make a decision about. So that's what I did. Also, my daughter, she packs. Um, we pack her school lunch, and so what we in conversation with her teacher or something, I was just saying like I'm running out of lunch ideas, and we're doing this every day, coming up with a lunch for her. And she's like, "Oh, well, sometimes, like school lunches have improved, and sometimes she's interested in what they're serving from the cafeteria." I never knew that, and she was like, maybe because we had this discussion at the end of the school year, and she's like, maybe it would be beneficial if I send home a school lunch menu for the month. And I was like, that is a really good idea. I would love to do that. So that is something that I plan on implementing when she starts back to school, where we get the school lunch menu for the month. And I'm going to have her go through and circle the days that she wants to eat in the cafeteria. And the days that she don't, then we plan her lunch. We, plan her meal. And I feel like for me, that's one intentional thing that we can do, but it's not a lot of decisions that I'm making every day, and also it's planning forward, planning ahead, and we know what's happening. She has some say in what is going on in her daily life. And at the same time, it takes some pressure off me of I need to figure this out Monday through Friday, and come up with this, plan of, and different ways of how to make chicken. All right. So, so anyway, but I like that. And I'm looking forward to implementing that. And even just her teaching when she brought that, when we were having this dialogue, it just lifted some stress and weight off me. Like, you know what? That's something I can scratch off. I can scratch off my list. Another thing too is building infrastructure, is just creating opportunities, more opportunities for respite. So for her, like she's 17, so in really good relationship with her peer buddy. So they will take her shopping, get her nails done. And I love the aspect of it because she's 17 and that's what 17-year-olds do. But at the same time, also giving me that time to do whatever it is I'm gonna do. But and just take a break and build, having a system in place because I also have to realize what I'm learning as I'm aging is that I can't do everything forever. I need to allow people to come in and help. I need to strengthen these support networks. And it's not just about me, but also for her. She needs to have a voice in life outside of mom. So I am utilizing that more and creating more respite opportunities for her to, go out and be with her friends and at the same time give me a minute to have a quiet house, which she isn't a noisy child for the most part, but just creating those moments where I can, also build in some rest and stuff like that, and just making that a part of our routine, respite opportunities. Another thing that I'm doing, and this is a project, and these are not easy conversations, but it's definitely ones that we have to have as parents. Estate planning and talks about conservatorship. Again, not easy conversations, but at the same time, I do this kind of work also in my regular job and talk with families a lot, like my powers attorney and those types of things. And so I see the relief that families have when there is a plan in place, and I appreciate that. And so also again, having this system, I've been in communication with my family attorney. Like, what do I want life to look like moving forward for my daughter, or should I not be here? What are things that I need to have in place so that she can continue to have the same, if not better, quality of life, so that she can continue to maintain and function and be as independent as she can be, but also still having oversight and guidance and having people in her life, active in her life, who I trust and who definitely have her best interest at heart. So these are conversations, and all that is infrastructure and things that I'm working to put in place now for her as she's about to turn 18. And that these discussions you have to, at least conservatorship, it's encouraged to have that done before they turn 18 years old. So those things, all of that, having those systems and supports in place, and I just feel like when I think of infrastructure, putting those things in place, it's a gift that you are giving your future self so that you don't have to worry about in the future because you don't know what mindset or where you will be. You're not rushing and doing it. But when you go ahead and do it once, you could just wash, rinse, repeat. Does that make sense? So I want to ask you, as we get ready to close, what infrastructure are you building in your life? What decision can you make once instead of making it 100 times over and over? What system can you create that reduce stress for your future self? Rest can be found in building better systems. And that was the premise of all this, getting back to rest. Where can, because like I said, I was overwhelmed with doing so much. and the word was rest. And yes, so that does mean, taking the time off and resting. But also, where are other areas? What are other shortcuts or cheat codes that I can build in there so that I'm also not mentally exhausted, making the same decision every day is what we're going to do for lunch. But if I can come up with a plan once a month, this is what we're going to do. I have a plan and I'm not doing the same thing over and over. Those things build rest as well, mental rest, you know? So I would love to hear your comments. And if this video was beneficial to you, please like, share, and subscribe. And until we talk again, keep walking in it.